Excellent. And we are live. Wow, it connected pretty quickly today. Hello and welcome to another episode of the weekly FreudenFreude podcast. Hello, we bring you content to let you grow and develop as a person and as a leader.
Hi, I'm Sandra Corona.
And I'm Claudia, and
And
we
we are
are coaches.
coaches.
Yes, 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 yes.
Great.
Um, Go ahead.
So I am a coach for leaders, for mid-management, and for the neurodiverse community.
And I work with professionals, corporate leaders, as well as their teams in tech and beyond. There we go. Introduction is done. Today we are discussing something that I think most people can relate to because it's a challenge to many of us. And that is how to keep up momentum. How to keep up momentum. You know, you start all gung-ho on something. You maybe had a very intense aha moment, or you had this insight, or you had a very detailed plan that made sense and so on. And now it's a little bit further along the road and you just feel that the wind is dropping out of your sails. Today, we are actually the last day of January in 2024. And so New Year's resolutions are 1 month back. And we already hear amongst people that we interact with that, oh, no, it didn't even last a month. Right? And that is one example of this hard thing that is keeping up momentum.
True. So number one, let's clarify. Claudia and I did not agree on matching color sweaters. This is like the second time in less than a month that it happened.
Yeah, I mean, it happens more often than not, and I'm not like a pink girly girl usually, but today it was just calling out to me, so there you go.
Exactly. Okay, so number two. Well, you know what? It is true. One of the biggest things that happens by the end of January is that you start realizing what is sustainable and what is not, and what is, within your abilities and what is not. And I think that is a good thing. The problem is when you ignore it, right? When you decide that, oh, you know what, it's okay, I didn't do it. No, it's okay. It's okay. Acknowledge it and say, you know what, I wanted to do this, but it's not possible. And then give yourself some self-awareness, accountability to say, you know what, I wanted to do this because of this, this, and this, but it was not possible because of this, this, and this. Once you rationalize the reasons as to why you could not achieve or could not keep that, let's say, New Year's resolution, it makes a little bit more sense, because maybe there is something that you had not thought of that's probably keeping you from, fulfilling that New Year's resolution.
Right.
What do you think?
Right. I think that sorry, bless you. Contextualizing is always very, very important. I'm a big fan of it. And also, I think we can decide on trying something new without having all the information, right?
Okay.
So when we make a resolution, in my way of doing it is it's my in the moment best stab at moving forward with this, right? Because it's only after you start doing it that you realize at which pace you can be going, how much time it requires, and so
Right.
on. So at
Right.
that moment, it's a matter of remaining flexible and adapting to something. A big favorite is always on January 1st is, we're going to start going to the gym, and I'm going to go for X amount of time, 5 times a week. And then you might realize that your body needs some time. Maybe you can't go 5 times a week. Maybe you can't go all out the way that you had expected to. And then you just have to adapt. And I think that the big thing is just to keep going. You mentioned something earlier that I feel I would be amiss if I wouldn't challenge you just a tiny little bit on it, in terms of a globalized statement. You mentioned whether we would find out whether or not something is within our abilities or not.
Mm,
Okay. I would be a little bit careful with that language because what if we decide that it lies outside of our abilities? Like
what if we
learning a
decide?
new
Okay.
language, for instance, the first few lessons are easy, and then all of a sudden the grammar gets hard and things like that, right? The tendency of many is then to say, oh, it's beyond my abilities. I'm just going to take this textbook and flunk it into the corner, and that's the end of it, versus maintaining this growth mindset, of, well, it's kind of difficult right now, but that difficulty, that discomfort that I feel is just my brain making some new pathways and learning, and I just need to go with it. So it's not a matter of deciding on ability or not ability, but just stick to itiveness, right?
Mm,
And resetting maybe our expectations that we will be fluent in XYZ language in 6 months.
mm,
It might just not happen that way. I would be um I would be careful not to judge ability that
mm-hmm.
quickly, that
Okay.
quickly. It might be discomfort, but yeah.
Okay. We'll leave it at that. That's fine. I think sometimes if we were to discuss ability, there's a lot of things that that you can interpret it in many ways. Like I said, I'm not going to go any further. It's some people may take it as probably, you know what, that is the reason why I think that if you are honest with yourself to say, okay, this is the reason why I don't want to do this, or I'm not going to do this, or I can't do this, that is the language that you have to observe of what you're saying,
Right.
because that makes the huge difference, right? And then after, that's why I was saying that you have to give yourself some accountability as to how you manage things, right? Because you have to be honest with yourself as to why you believe or why you are not doing this. If after you have said it to yourself honestly, that's when you realize whether it's a ability thing or it's a I don't want to do it thing,
Right,
right?
because when I mentioned disability, I said let's be careful with
Yep.
language, and
Yep.
let's be careful with making such sweeping decisions about our
Mm-hmm.
abilities.
Mm-hmm.
We
Mm-hmm.
have at every moment the right to say I stop. I
Yeah,
mean, that's absolutely your freedom to
that's
participate
right.
or not to participate,
That's
to
right.
to go on or to terminate. That is absolutely your prerogative, right?
Right.
It's just
Right.
let's be a little bit more careful with the language that we use and the frames for which we look at that, right?
Right.
And
Right.
but thanks for pointing that out.
But
Absolutely.
you know what? Another thing that I realized, for example, for me last year, I was taking new medication and I didn't realize that this medication was really putting me in this very hyper focused, let's do it all thing. Okay, I had not realized that. And I was going to the gym like for 3 months in a row and I was doing really well and everything else. But like every medication, it has its like amazing stage, right? Where you're like on the top of the mountain and then suddenly it just starts, exactly, you start settling on the medication, right? It starts settling in on you. And that is something also that I wanted to mention for the neurodiverse community because it's, if I think about it, I know that that is one of the reasons why you might come up and say, I couldn't do it or it's beyond my ability because you realize that it's medication. So you have to think through the process. And that's why I said you have to be honest with yourself as to why you did not follow through. And if it's a thing that, oh, well, the medication was doing this to me, okay, I get it. The medication was doing this to you, but what about you? Right? What about you? You're wanting, you're needing the where you wanted to be and all this kind of stuff. Was it about the medication or was it really something that you wanted to achieve? So for us, and I think we've mentioned this before, is that you have to start small. It's wonderful when you have medication that is helping you, but then that's the problem. You cannot keep up. So just continue, because yes, you're going to go up and then you're going to go down. And then if you continue just little by little, maybe no longer running, maybe no longer going and walking in the gym and doing all this kind of stuff. Now, maybe now it's like, okay, I want to keep momentum. So let me continue walking around the, block or doing something like that, or walk the dogs. And then you're still doing it. And then eventually maybe your body and your mind is going to match, right? And they're going to say, okay, I'm ready to now go to the gym and now do the, the walker, what's it called? The treadmill. Thank you. Now the treadmill, you can tell I haven't in what, 6 months?
Yeah, so
exactly.
it has to go from the walker to the treadmill. Yeah.
Except the walker. Okay. Anyways, yes, something like that. I know that for me, if I may, I want to do like an example. I was okay. So I put myself in a situation where I said, I'm going to put myself this year first. Okay. Where I'm going to take care of myself, however way I see it suitable. Maybe it's doing facials, maybe it's exercises, maybe it's massages, whatever way I decided it was going to be. One of the things was I'm going to start taking care of my face. I'm going to go to the dermatologist. I'm going to, check and see what can I do to improve with 50 years old. And so I said, okay, she tells me you have to do three treatments. I said, okay, fine, and I was very excited. I did the first one. I regretted it forever and ever because it was so painful. But then I went back a second time because it's part of the treatment. And now, because I waited, because I went on vacation and so on, I waited like 2 months to do the third and last treatment, which is tomorrow. But can you believe that I am so exhausted? I am thinking about whether the third treatment is my choice right now because I'm exhausted, because it's painful, because it's stressful, and just thinking about it stresses me. And so I thought, do I want to do this? And then I thought, okay, wait. How can I get through this and fulfill the last step? I thought, okay, well, this is for me. Yeah, it's painful, but I promised myself a value that I'm going to be number one, okay, that I'm going to make sure that I'm okay so that everything around me is okay. So I thought about that and it makes sense. When something makes sense to me, I don't know how it works for you, but it would be good to hear from you. For me, when I rethink my values and I rethink what it means to me to take care of myself, that's when I say, I'm not going to lie. I'm still thinking, should I call and cancel? No, because this is for me. And there's so many things going on around me, the move and everything else, that I see the house and it's like so overwhelming. And I thought, no, I think I need some me time, even if it's only 2 hours away from the house. I'm going to do it. Right. What is that you do?
Well, I think that first of all, recognizing what is real and what is resistance, right? As coaches, we are very familiar with resistance. It's uncomfortable. We just don't want to go there. And as soon as that bubbles up, guess what? Your brain, not being your friend, comes up with 1,000,001 excuses
Mhm.
not to do this thing that is maybe slightly beyond your comfort zone, that is slightly uncomfortable, maybe physically in your case, right? And it conjures all these excuses that may or may not have any basis in reality. So I think sometimes just recognizing that is protective mechanism conjured up by our brain, it helps, right? Because then you can really say, like, are these excuses real? Or, and in this case, actually, you chose to do something. And ideally, we always in the place where we do something that we chose to do rather than
Mhm.
forced to do.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I think that just realizing that just because it's in our brain doesn't make it real or doesn't make
Mhm.
it true. Very,
Mhm.
very, very important. And yeah, sometimes we have to pull together all our little bit of willpower that we have left and try to get over that hurdle. That's very often what it is. And yeah, especially the less chosen it is, right? The less chosen it is, but I can already tell. I mean, the first two treatments, did you a lot of good. So I'm sure that the third one's going to be the cherry on top. So
That's
good.
exactly my focus. I'm like thinking, oh, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to ask the doctor to do that, and this and that. And I'm thinking that has to be like if you see beyond, let's say, of the pain and everything else, and you see the results, because I see the results, and I'm like, yeah, it's working. I feel my face. It looks totally different. It feels refreshed when I touch my face. It's no longer that dryness, that usually comes with age and stuff like that. So that's my motivation. I'm looking for things, for reasons that makes my brain say, like you said, are those excuses, or is that just you uh you know trying to motivate yourself in the wrong way? Because the little gremlin says, yeah, yeah, you're gonna look good, but does it painful? Is it painful?
Yeah,
Right.
the thing is that our brain latches on to the negative so
Oh,
easily, right? We get that for free, right? I
oh
mean,
yeah.
negativity comes for free in a myriad ways and gets blown out of proportion quite often as well. But then on the other hand, you do have, um, you know, if you put attention and effort into it, the positive things are there. The reasons why you started with this treatment is still valid, except
Mhm.
that it gets overshadowed by this negativity, right? That
Mhm.
gets blown out of proportion. So, I think consciously bringing back the positive points. In there are certain coaching clients where actually when we have done an analysis of the thing and they embark down a trajectory towards a goal and they have all their whys clear in their head, I ask them to write themselves a letter. To
Okay.
write themselves a letter outlining the reasons, a motivational letter for later.
Okay.
Really, no, but outlining the reasons why, right now it's so clear to them that they want to go down that path and all the advantages that are going to come and the way that they're going to feel, once this goal is achieved and things like that. And I have on more than one occasion gotten feedback from them that this letter, this motivational letter, really was very helpful to them when they reach things like that. Because
Mm.
one of the big issues is when you're run down or when you're stressed, when you're
Mm.
reaching burnout and things like that, your brain is not functioning very well. Okay, so it is not always, you can't say, oh, it is clear to me today. I'm feeling great. I'm making these plans. It's very clear to me today. And therefore, it's also going to be very clear to me 3 months from now, or 6 months, or 3 years from now.
Okay.
you know, in that time frame later, you might be worn out, you might be run down, and you might not really, for the world of you, remember why you ever took the decision to do this. Right? Your brain does not click back into place. So having this reminder in whatever form it takes, a letter, a mood board, uh, a bullet list, whatever it is, how you want to implement it for you, is hugely important, and that helps with keeping up momentum, right?
That is
Being
true.
able to remember what got you started in the first place, and we
Mm,
do forget when it's really hard. And yesterday was hard, and today maybe our body's hurting, or we're tired, and things like that. We do not, at that moment, have the capacity or the desire to go back and remember. So keeping that
yes.
front and center is really important. Your coach will remind you too, if
Oh,
you have one,
yes.
because it's something that comes up in most coaching sessions. Is again,
Yes.
remind me why you're doing this. Remind me why you're doing this.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so I think that that's very important. What do you think?
Yes, I agree. There's something in the coaching, well, school that I'm studying in, and one of them is that we call them allies, right? And an ally can be a fictional character. It can even be your something that is holding you behind, is holding you back. Like, who is this person? If you could, if you feel upset, okay, and the coach is going to ask you, why are you upset? Well, because I couldn't do this. Okay, so this thing that makes you upset, what is it? If it had a body, if it had a face, how would it look like? Well, you can say that it looks like Rumpelstiltskin, right? Oh, okay, like Rumpelstiltskin. Well, what if Rumpelstiltskin was a, a character that didn't take crap, okay, that just, like, no nonsense, I'm not going to handle this, I'm not going to deal with it. What if in 10 days from now you want to achieve this? What would Rumpelstiltskin tell you? Oh, okay, well, it would tell me, nonsense, you can do it. It becomes an ally. Is even your grumpiness becomes an ally. And one of the things that I have personally is a Black Panther. And my coach, because even as a coach, we have our moments. We're so human, right? Like you said, our brains are like everybody else's. They tend to want to survive. And one of the reasons that one of the things that our brain does is that it tells us, go and hide, right? Go and protect yourself. And so that's what we do when we feel stressed, when we feel like things are becoming a little bit hard and we're having all these things going on. What is that we do? Like ostriches, we want to go and hide. And so thankfully, because we have our own coaches, my coach is constantly reminding me, so what is the stance of a Black Panther? What would it do? What is it? What is their behavior? What are they focused on? And what is that their focus looks like? Even embody it. And so she reminds me all of these things. And then I start feeling so good, because even it's really hard when you are having all these issues around you to remember those questions. It's incredible, and you try to put yourself in that mindset, but you can't. So thankfully, that's why a coach is the most amazing thing, because they remind you of your own power, of where you put all that power into, so that you can embody it and then put yourself in that situation and feel like, oh, that's right.
Right. Yeah, very cool. Black Panther as your spirit animal. I like.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, because this is actually an example of how you can anchor a state that you're in, right? Because this panther reminds you of the resourceful state that you were in when you made the decision, when you set the goal, and so on. So it's it's very interesting to do it that way. Black Panther, very cool.
I
Yeah,
think my doggies were embodying the Black Panther right now.
Black Panther, the Black Panther. And you know, it's really important to get back into that state, because if you can, it you know, one exercise that I always do with my clients, not so much about the state when the decision was being made, but the end state, like the
Mhm,
desired state, right?
mhm, mhm.
And we can call it division, because sometimes you need to go through multiple goals and intermediate steps to reach a vision, right?
Yeah.
But one exercise that I do with my clients every session is to concretize the vision, to
Mm,
concretize the vision. I had
mm,
a client, she was a lady, she was in France, and uh, she had started the coaching because she wanted to figure out what to do after a very long maternal leave. What did
okay.
she want to do? She had studied pharmacology. She had been in working in pharmacies beforehand, but she really wasn't sure if she wanted to go back into that kind of work. Just a little bit into the session, she decided that she would study and get certified in certain alternative therapy modalities.
Okay.
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 And so, and she signed up. I mean, she really went at it, you know, really, really well. And so and a lot of it also from her own volition, on her own initiative. She didn't need to coach there, you know, to hold her hand for every little step. She signed up, she researched schools and so on. So really very cool. But the work that we did, pretty much every session, was to concretize her vision of her practice once
Uh,
she was
mhm,
successful, right?
mhm, mhm.
And I mean, we had this whole thing, like the color on the walls, which, how many rooms she would have, how the reception area would look like, the flowers on the on the desk, and you know, would she wear a white lab coat or not? How would she greet her patients, and things and things and things. And every time we went through this exercise, she concretized it even more. She found more details
I see.
about her vision.
Mm,
And, you know, that was so powerful and uh, so real to her, that it really gave her a lot of motivation and power in the tank, you know, gas in the tank to go after this. Tony Robbins is famous for having said that the brain does not know the difference between reality and that which is vividly imagined.
mm,
Vividly
mhm,
imagined,
mhm,
meaning
mhm.
she had gone and she had imagined this practice so vividly, with emotions and was, I mean, her entire body language. She believed it in those moments, right? And we did that over and over. That for her brain, it was a fait accompli. It was reality. And since the brain said, well, you were able to already do it, why should you not be able to do it again? But it's really like that. The brain cannot know the difference.
Hmm.
And so all these barriers and the resistance and disbelieving that I don't deserve it, and disbelieving I'm not good enough, and disbelieving the fear of failure and the fear of success, and all these things get minimized if you have already, for all intents and purposes, been there.
Right.
And that keeps up momentum, you know, really beautifully. Right.
You know what? I was thinking one of the things was that you're right. The brain does not know the difference between reality and something very vivid, right? And because I started off the coaching classes, you know, a year ago, it was so great and everything else. But right now, I also have to say another thing. Even though this might sound like an excuse, but it is true. Exhaustion can really play a big role in this. And for me, like I'm trying to find motivation again to continue being excited. Like I'm on the last stretch. I'm on the last 2, 3 weeks of my classes. So that's it. Like after that, exactly. After that, I'm done. And so, but I'm trying to find that motivation to keep going, to complete my homework and all of that. I'm 3 classes behind. Imagine that, just because of all of this. But then I also thought, okay, when did this start? This started just last week. Okay, yes, it's been a long process. It's been stretching out and all of this kind of thing. But how much is it exhaustion? How much is it distraction? How much is it focused and how focus, I'm sorry, and how much is it you just being lazy? I mean, that's the truth. For me. And so I realized that it's one third, one third, one third, one third. Because I mean, let's be honest, maybe right now for this week, I do have the excuse, but the other weeks, not really. So that's my reality. That's my reality check that I'm doing on myself to say, okay, Sandra, you need to get yourself into the position where enough is enough. Right now it's time to start focusing, because really it's going to start really getting heavy next week. So I either complete my 3 tasks this weekend, or I'm doomed because I'm going to have an incomplete grade and I don't want to be there, right? I have to do what I have to do. So what is my focus? What is my motivation right now is to say, look, this is for me. If it's not going to be for anybody else, maybe I won't work in a year from now as a coach. I don't know where life is going to take me. But right now, this started because I needed it. I wanted it. So let that be the focus, because it was for me. So yeah, that's what I'm going to take right now. So baby steps, right?
Steps,
That is
baby
my
steps.
focus.
I think showing up and just doing what you can, we have often maybe heard this thing of, start with 2 minutes or 5 minutes. You can do anything in life for 2 or 5 minutes. And
Mhm.
often that is even enough to get us started on spending a half an hour or an hour or whatever, right?
Mhm.
At least get your butt in the chair on
Yes.
at
Yeah.
your desk, take out your things, turn off distractions, and get started. If you really absolutely cannot focus after, a while, then, maybe get up, take a walk, have
Yeah.
some tea, and then try again. Right.
Yes.
Because here's something that my tutoring career has told me. I don't know, many of the people listening here probably don't know that I am actually a science person by training, right? I studied mathematics and engineering. And so at some point in my life, when we came back to Luxembourg, I was tutoring. I was tutoring high school students getting ready for their end of high school exams, and also university students, mostly in mathematics and computer science. And, especially in mathematics, there was always like, oh, I don't feel like it. And I'm like, guess what? You won't feel like it. If you wait for the moment that you feel like doing your math homework, that moment might never come.
Mhm.
Right,
Mhm.
this moment that you really feel like it, you're passionate, or even just motivated, or at the very least you have like an attempt of a smile on your face, right? That you're like, yeah, math. It might never come, because remember, these were people where math was a challenge,
Yeah.
to do, and that is just also the case. Sometimes it's just really hard, and there might be, but you can't count on it, that the moment will come that it's gonna just go easy and breezy, and that you're gonna have fun doing it. That moment might never come, right?
Oh yeah.
Because maybe now, I mean, even when you embark on like a really long coaching certification, I've done it on a number of occasions, there are some subjects in there that are just not your thing,
Mhm.
right? Things that might not, where you can't really get the sense for why would this work, or I would never do this to my clients, because not all coaches use all tools for all clients,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And so then it just gets hard, and you have to just go for it, right?
Yes, correct.
And you have to do it, and it's painful, and it's like, you're sitting there gritting your teeth for the entire time that you're doing this, and you just have to do it, right? That's what you
Yes.
signed up for. Yeah.
Yes. I can tell you, for example, another thing. I was talking with a friend of mine before getting into all the things that I had to do today. It's kind of like our early morning conversation. We get on the phone and we talk about what we're supposed to do on the entire day. And she told me, so how are you doing, with your luggage? Have you already set to the side what you're going to take with you and what is going to go on the shipment? And I was like, no, but I have an idea. She's like, no, seriously. Like, have you already set to the side what you're going to put on your luggage and what is going to go and what is not going to go? She's like, you have 3 tasks. I was like, no. And what are you waiting for? I was like, well, I'm filling up this paperwork. She was like, no, seriously, Sandra, you have to think about this. She's like, already in February. She's like, tomorrow is February. And February might have 5 weeks, but the movers are going to come on the 25th. So that leaves you with 4 weeks, right? But technically this week is gone. Like today's Wednesday. What are you waiting for? And I was like, oh my God. Anxiety started to fill up, right? And then she tells me, so what are you going to do? Like, how are you going to get yourself to do all of this? I was like, well, she asked me this question. It was a really good question. I was like, I don't know. Like, okay, tell you what, she says, why don't you start in one space? Just say, today I'm going to wake up, going to put on some shorts or whatever you wear. She's like, and start with your bedroom. Start with your bedroom and say, okay, I'm going to start with my clothes. I'm going to look up and say, these are the shirts that are going to go with me. These stay, these I throw away, whatever. She's like, start there. And you're going to see how little by little, by the time the movers come, you're barely ending. She's like, trust me on this one. I was like, oh my God. But she gave me a good, like, she didn't overwhelm me. She just kind of put me in the position to say, think a little bit of what is going on. Now let's rationalize this so it doesn't become a hard thing, because you start thinking, where do I start? No. She's right. Simple. The bedroom. Right?
Yep, yep. I do, we for those that are just listening in, I relocated over 10 years ago from the US to Luxembourg, and Sandra is going to relocate from Saudi Arabia to the US next month. So we tend to share like war stories from relocation. And I do remember, that I went and I even ordered off the American Amazon this huge photography backpack. Like you can get photo backpacks, camera
Yes.
bags in different sizes. And I got the biggest freaking one that they had because I said, I am not going to check my lenses, which, I invested a lot of money in my Nikon camera lenses, my glass, as they say. And I pulled all the hard drives from my computer and took them on the plane with me.
Uh,
Okay, I did not want to ship all that stuff in the container, and even though I wouldn't be able to use them, some data I had already transferred to portable drives and things like that. But I did not want to leave my data in the computer. So but you have then like sometimes even you have to know what you're going to pack and what you're going to check and what you're not going to check, and what you're going to need to survive for the month, in my case, until the container arrived.
mhm.
Right. And so it's very important, I think, because sometimes it's also paperwork. What kind of paperwork do you need? And things like that is not easily pulled together at the last minute, because at the last minute your house is going to be a mess anyway. The movers are going to come in and pack, and when they pack, you don't have time to keep an eye on them. They pack so quickly, and so yeah, I think that your friend gave you a really good piece of advice there. Uh,
Yes.
and because it's also, as you think about packing for that month, it's also going to let you plan a little bit more, right? It's kind
Mhm.
of part of this just even mental preparation of the reality of after the flight,
Right.
because, that you have what you need for that time as well. Well,
Right. You
I
know,
am not, sorry, I am not jealous of you moving because I talked to Sandra last time we spoke. I said, you couldn't pay me enough to even move from this house to the house next door. I don't want to do it anymore. So,
right, right. One of the things that the movers told me, just so this, we're still talking about to keep momentum, okay? And this is a little thing that I thought about, and I was like, yeah, they're right. So let's say that, okay, you're moving, and how does this have anything to do? I'm moving, I'm sorry. So what does this have to do with keeping the momentum? Well, the momentum here for me is when you start thinking about what is that you need to prepare yourself, because it's not just preparing the house for the movers, it's the eventualities that can occur. Like, for example, the guy yesterday, he came to the house and helped me fill out some forms. And one of the things that he said was like, so he's like, are you aware of right now what's going on in the Red Sea? And I looked at him and I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, the war, what's going on? I was like, oh, like everything at that moment, like, like coins, it started spinning around, and then it started falling. I was like, oh my God, that's true. He's like, I just want you to know that you have to be ready. He's like, maybe your shipment makes it, maybe not. I was like, oh. And so I spoke with my husband, and the guy said, do you want to ensure your shipment? So let's say, for example, that me in another situation, I would have said, well, I'm just going to wait for my husband to come home and I'll talk with him about it. Then things happen and you forget. Well, thinking about the 5-minute rule, and about as soon as you think about it, take action. I immediately called my husband and I said, hey, look, he made me think about this. What do you think? Should we insure the shipment? He's like, what do you think? And I told him, look, we're not millionaires. Okay, let's be honest. We're not millionaires. And if we lose our shipment, how much is it going to cost us to recover all that? So you have to start thinking, and then you have to start, looking for tickets and costs and all this kind of thing. And so you start making a plan. So what is my motivation? Money in this case. That is how I'm keeping momentum, because one of the things that you have to focus, like Claudia was saying, you have to think about the end result. What is the end result for us? Is like, spend the less that we can, do the best that we can with what we have, right? But do it efficiently and effective. And what is the best way to do it is by planning. So my goal is effective and efficient. How? Doing what I have to do. And that is my motivation. That is keeping the momentum, because now I'm going to start doing the research. Now I'm going to do my lists, all those kind of things. That is how you keep momentum.
and you have less than 4 weeks. And you
Oh,
have
God.
less than 4 weeks. Exactly, exactly. Yeah, but I know, but I tell you, like, a stone the size of the Appalachian Mountains is going to fall off your chest if that container arrives in front of your new house. Because I was there. I mean, a lot you can ultimately live without or replace, but there's always some things that, are near and dear to your heart, that wouldn't be easily replaced. And, like I had my grand piano in there, I would have been really upset if that had not arrived, right? I really would. And computer equipment and things like that. Pictures, parts of your life. But I had, like I said, I had digitized a lot, and I had taken all that stuff with me. I was for months. I always had the scanner running to scan in documents and things like that. All my pictures were also scanned, because back in the day we had pictures. Yeah. And so, I think that there's a lot that you can use, not in the last 3 weeks, but that you can prepare while you do this. But yeah, oh my God. And actually, as I was thinking about this, the momentum, you won't get around to finding your stride in this. At the very least, as the deadline approaches, the adrenaline is going to kick in, and you won't be able to procrastinate any longer. You're going to get into high gear. That's just that your body is going to become frantic enough for you to get the work done. Sometimes maybe better, sometimes maybe less well, but you're gonna get it done. I think that a big challenge in keeping up momentum is when you have these open-ended projects or habits that you want to get into that do not have a deadline
Mm-hmm.
attached to it, like working out, like saving, like uh, you know, staying in touch with people, or whatever the thing is. It's these, like, for the rest of my life, incidentally, I want to do this from now on forever. And that is very hard because you don't have this semi-artificial deadline looming that will kick
Right.
you in the butt, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that has its a whole other set of challenges. And incidentally, one really good workaround around this is to throw in artificial deadlines, to create deadlines. For instance, I had a gentleman who he was in the helping professions as well. And one thing that he did every 3 months is that he spent a weekend working for the equivalent of Habitat for Humanity.
Okay.
And whenever he was done with that, he would be exhausted and he would be sore and whatever, but he was recharged because he had contributed and he could even do his job better for them, right? And for him, the way that we ultimately found out in our coaching sessions together is the moment he signed up for one, he already signed up for the next one. Or, like the moment that he was in that state, he would sign up for the one 3 months later, because he was afraid that, when the moment comes, I'm going to just remember the soreness and the exhaustion, and I'm going to have these excuses again. And I want to keep this momentum going, because when I take a step back, it's something really good for me and for the community. So I think that making these artificial deadlines instantly is good. Working out is another one. Rather than saying, I'm going to just work out, sign up to enter a race or a walk, or, a 5K in the summer, right? Like,
Okay.
already do that so that you cannot spend the last 5 weeks of before the race on your couch. Sorry, my just went off.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, you can see me, but I cannot.
Oh,
Hold on. Help. And so there we go. And so, it's kind of like, okay, I'm going to sign up for this race. And maybe it depends. Either it's a maintenance race, 5K, you can kind of do it already, and it's just going to keep you on a maintenance level of fitness. Or maybe you're going to sign up for a 10K or a half marathon, or, anything like that, which would then force you to really stretch yourself and maybe find a workout buddy and all those kind of things. So, having deadlines really, really helps, because otherwise these open-ended ones, they can really become tedious and hard after a while. Do you have experience with that?
with deadlines? Oh, yes. I was going to say something.
Or
Yes.
maybe with not having them.
With not having deadlines, I think my life is almost about not having deadlines. because I'm a very, very chilled person. And one of the things that I dislike is to feel pressured. That's the truth. And so when I have deadlines, it actually puts me in a better state. That's to be honest. It gives me purpose, right? But when I'm not with a deadline, I feel like if I don't do it, it's okay. And if I do it, well, yippee, good for me, but it has no purpose. It's just something for me. And for me, I do a lot of things for me. So it doesn't fulfill me. That's the word that I'm looking for. But when you do have a purpose, when there's a reason, when there's a deadline, I think you feel like there's a lot of responsibility, because it depends on who you are and how you feel about these kind of things, right? For me, it's like I don't want to fail myself. If I put myself a deadline, and if I, for example, tomorrow doing my treatment, and I said that's the last one, if I don't go, I'm going to feel bad. I'm going to feel like everything else I've been doing and I've been fulfilling and doing, and everything's coming out so far with a little bumps here and there. Why would I not do this one? Like, why would I not fulfill it? What's so hard to get up, take a shower, put my butt in the car and drive myself there? It's less than 7 minutes from my house. Just sit down. Yeah, it's going to hurt, but hey, the results are going to be amazing. So that is my objective, my focus. If I don't have it, it doesn't make a difference. And I feel like it just doesn't. What is the word? Hold on a second. I feel not a loser. That's not the word, but you know what I mean? Like something like that. It just feels that
You
you
let
have
yourself down, right?
yeah, exactly. You let yourself down. That's
Right.
terrible.
Right. And I think that as we're speaking about these compelling events that we put in, it's also important, I think, to have some skin in the game.
Mm,
Meaning, not achieving that needs to cost you something,
mm,
right?
yeah.
Like money or effort that's going to go to waste and
Mm-hmm,
so on, right? Because
mm-hmm.
I'm sure with your deadline for your class looming, you do not want to get it incomplete. You have done 95% of the work. You cannot stop now, because that would be a waste of all these things. So there's a huge skin in the game, and I'm sure that these programs are never cheap, people. So I'm sure that that's another aspect. And I
Mm,
also think that it makes us show up even if we don't feel at our best. Okay, this is
mhm,
what happened to me. I had when I did my first big accredited coaching certification in France. It was also a long process, many classes. I went to Paris for, many times, did a lot of the homeworks and things like that, and study groups and God knows what. And I had submitted my dissertation. We had to write a dissertation, and I had written that. It was 200 pages on e-coaching, incidentally, and the
mm,
modality on how we communicate through technology. So I had all that together, but I had kind of forced too much to write this. I was really burnt out afterwards,
mm,
to the point that I wasn't able to go and defend my dissertation in front of the jury, have my dissertation defense in front of the jury at the scheduled time. So I asked for an extension. And I was dragging and dragging for several months that I was really not feeling well. This was even before I had my business and things like that.
Mhm.
And so a few months in, I wrote them an email, I know that I've been out of touch, but I am absolutely interested in completing this. As soon as I feel better, I am going to come and do this thesis defense. And back I get this thing, oh, you should know that your deadline for thesis defense expires in 4 weeks or something like that. If
Oh
you
my
don't do
word.
it then, your whole program is going to be forfeit. Well, I had been working on this thing for 2 years, right? So, and guess
Yeah.
what? I put my presentation together. I reread my thesis, first of all, because, like after a few months, it's not as fresh in French, mind you. And I prepared my presentation and I drove to Paris and I defended this thing. Was I really feeling 100%? No, I really wasn't. I was feeling crappy. I was really not well, but I did really well during that half hour or 45 minutes that it took me to defend my thesis and my work. And I think that if from the beginning I would have been okay with doing a non-perfect job in this.
Okay.
I
Mm.
could maybe already have done it in the beginning. The travel was brutal. I was really feeling bad. I popped pills like candy. And, but I did get through it. But I think that, thank God that I had that deadline because I got it done. I
Yeah.
got it done well. And then finally I could put this baby to rest. And, but it's, I had skin in the game. If I didn't do this really hard thing of traveling to Paris and standing in front of that jury, I would have lost 2 years worth of work and
Hmm.
sweat. No
Hmm.
tears, but,
Hmm.
sweat and blood and, work
Yeah. Yeah.
and a lot of money because the
Mhm.
course was very expensive. The trips to Paris was the car and the hotels and all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff, going there for weeks at a time. It was a commitment.
Hmm.
So there we go. I was not doing great, but I got through it, and I'm glad that I had written that little email that they reminded me of the deadline because I don't think that from themselves they would have given me a heads up.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah, my
Well,
French.
there you go. There you go. So it's skin on the game. There is a deadline. And what else can you say that I'm missing?
I think reminding yourself of why you're doing it and keeping the end vision clear and concrete in your
Right.
brain. I think that you have to know what got you started. You have to know where you're going. You have
Yeah.
to know that your brain's going to play tricks on you,
Oh, yeah.
right? And give you a million excuses.
Mhm.
If it's a long-term project, it's your responsibility to put milestones in that are achievable, but that will keep you on track, these compelling events. And always make sure what you're going to lose if you're not doing it. Not just
Right.
what you're gaining when you do it, but also what you're going to lose if you don't do it. So maybe in a nutshell, did I forget something?
No, I think you've completed it beautiful. I mean, I think that's how I wish we could end today because that was beautiful.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, we're actually on time. Geez,
There you
these
go.
hours just always drop by like nothing.
Yeah.
Uh, we have an announcement.
Okay.
We are going to take the month of March, the month of March 2024 off. Can you
Yes.
tell us a little bit about that, Sandra?
Yes. So my departure date to the US back home is March the 6th. And after that, well, there's a lot that has to happen, right? Like setting up my utilities back at home, making sure that I have service, uh, you know, buying a stove and all this kind of good stuff, all these things that you need to settle in. And so I know that I could say, well, as long as I have a little desk, I can do this thing. But I know that I'm also going to be exhausted. I'm going back home. This is where my friends and my family is. So I know that I'm also going to be busy seeing family and receiving help and setting up things and receiving, you know, the shipment and all this kind of stuff. So the fair thing to say is that I'm taking my spring break, you know, early, because that's the right thing to do. I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver.
We can just ask you to maybe keep collecting good anecdotes that we can talk about, maybe with a coaching perspective, as we come back. And you know, we hope that all the that your course is going to be finishing up well, and that we're gonna celebrate. Let's do a special celebration episode once you're back. Okay,
There you go.
fantastic.
Awesome. Sounds
So,
good.
thank you everybody for listening in. I hope there was a little bit of interesting material in here. We always appreciate when you come. If you did find value in it, please subscribe to the channel, click the notification icon and all that good stuff. And please engage with our content by clicking like or leaving a comment in the comment section. If you have any kind of questions or suggestions for topics, or you have maybe an anecdote to share, please let us know. You can reach us on social media. Our contact information is in the description attached to this video. Reach out anytime. And yeah, so we're going to take March off. I'm still working as a coach, though. I still have some limited availability. Let me know if you're looking for a coach. And that's it for today. We will
Thank
be
you,
back next.
Claudia.
Okay. You take care, everybody. Bye bye.
Bye.